Welcome to the Corner Office, where we bring you the latest news from the world of commercial real estate, the greatest voices in the industry, and the corporate chats you've been missing. Let's get to it.
Hi guys, we are back with the CEO of Galetti Corporate Real Estate, John Jack. I promise not to call him Jonathan, Jack. But the reason why we've brought him back, of course, you know that Galetti has got a podcast called The Corner Office. But there was a comment that we got on our last video, and it's from Nelson Treu, and he says, it sounds theoretically easy, but practically it's for the big boys with thick skin in the game. And I wanted to bring John back to really try and break that down, because I feel like we need to demystify this idea that, you know, auctions are for people with big pockets. There must be a way for the ordinary man to also get in. So welcome back, John.
Thank you. Yeah. He's not far wrong. He's not far wrong.
And we must be honest.
Yeah, we must be honest. He's not far wrong. You do need money to get into it. What I said last time is you need at least sort of a third of the value in cash to buy these properties. Okay? But there are lots of ways for you to get yourself into it. Typically, when you look at a property, how are you going to create that cash value? So you might look at a property, a vacant property, it's just sitting there, maybe it's a little bit derelict, and you have an idea for a client or a tenant or an occupier that's going to go in, because ultimately in commercial property, everything is driven by the occupier.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So if you can put these two things together, you see a building, you understand that you have an occupier or an idea for it. Maybe it could be a nice bar, or maybe you have something that could turn around the value. Because one of my clients has a very clever strategy, and this is something that you could look at. It's all value adding. So what he says is, you've always got your high street. You go to Stellenbosch, you go to any road. You've got this one road which is very popular. Everyone wants to go on that road. Parkhurst, 4th Avenue.
Absolutely.
Know? So if you have another road, typically adjacent to it, you're going to find that the rentals are half the price.
Yes.
Okay? What you want to try and do is bring the center of gravity to that other road. So you have to create an energy in that road, create an idea, a concept, or whatever it might be. You could then get in. You've got to bring this concept across to this market.
Yes.
Thereby increasing the rentals and the value of the building, and then that creates your equity in the transaction. You could also find a tenant that might be perfect, a restaurant or an occupier. You know, you see Decathlon starting to occupy different facilities at the moment. You might have a building that doesn't work. A great example was Storage. Storage. A good example. They were going to go occupy buildings which was dead space. No one could get any money from.
Yes.
Suddenly you put these guys in, or you create an idea for them to come in, the rentals are double, and therefore you create equity in the building. Okay, so the building might have been worth 10 million rand. Now it's worth 15 million rand. You get it revalued by the bank. There you create your equity. So it's not only about putting cash down. In fact, the game is actually not to put cash down. The game is not to put cash down. That is where all the smart guys have made a lot of money getting into the business. So it's about being clever. Yeah.
I feel like you just gave me a big secret that I didn't know.
Yeah.
That is actually insane that you've got to think about it that way. I'm just thinking, if, for instance, I'm still beating myself up because in your guys' last auction, we lost out on this block of flats. But I don't think we had a plan. You know, we wanted this block of flats. We wanted to put down the money, but we were like, okay.
Well, here's an idea for a block of flats.
Yes.
These older blocks, and there was one that I saw in Randburg a couple of years back. But basically, these older blocks have really big apartments.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And let's say the guys in there, they're paying 4,000 rand a month for the apartment.
Yes.
However, you know that if you chop that apartment in half, you could still get 4,000 for the half, and therefore 4,000 for the other half. Now you've got 8,000 for the same space. Of course, you've got to put a wall in, you've got to do bathrooms and that kind of thing. But you're going to get a net uplift, increasing the value of the property, creating equity in the building.
Can I keep you in my pocket?
That's the game.
You can literally answer all my questions every single day. That is actually quite insane, right? So I can move from a 20 block unit to a 40 block unit.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's quite interesting. So we've got what is called a property stock firm.
Yeah.
We set this thing up. Let me tell you, it was an uphill climb because obviously you want to do it the right way, legalities and setting up an actual PTY LTD. So we did all of that. We contribute as shareholders, right? Yeah. So shareholder contributions. And we just found that it's a very smart way of getting into these kind of things.
You break it down. You break it down into smaller pieces. I've got some questions.
Okay.
How does the stokvel actually work? A stock file.
Okay,
not necessarily just a company that
yes.
you're all investing in because that's what everyone does, but
Yes.
an actual stock file. Because there are parts of it I understand, and there are bigger stock files who are actually professionally managed with asset managers, etc.
Yes.
But there are also the smaller ones, and then the very small ones, and then the ones that are just more high risk than anything else. How does it work?
So the stock file business is actually quite, I want to say it's semi-formal. It's an informal business with 6 billion rand, they say, in South Africa. But ultimately where it came from. So remember that in the olden days, the South African market landscape, obviously because of discrimination and all sorts of things, was not allowing a certain group of people in, right? And a part of it was not necessarily, it was not necessarily racial discrimination. It was more of the red tape. You got to have the right papers and all of that stuff to be able to get into it, quite a formal space. So what these guys then created they created what we call little societies to be able to financially support each other. And a lot of them came from burial societies. So somebody passes away in your family and we don't have the money to bury them, so the whole society or the community will come together to be able to contribute. But to make it a lot more predictable, they create a society that will help you with that. So maybe they're collecting 50 rand every single month from every family. And then when something happens in your family, they will then give you guys
It's
that
like a
money.
micro insurance policy.
Absolutely, right? Then it moved to what is called a rotational stock file. So people were now using it as a savings plan. So let's say 6 of us are in a stock file, we contribute 1,000 rand, and every month the whole total would go to a specific person. Now, what we then identified is that, okay, but that just, it's a waste of time, to be fair, right? Because you could have done this on your own.
It's an exercise in discipline.
Yeah, it is. Look, I mean, a lot of it comes from communal, interest. So it's we're in a community, we're supporting each other. You probably would not have saved this money on your own, so we've helped you kind of save it. But from a financial perspective, it kind of defeats the purpose because you're losing out on interest and all sorts of things. However, if you now twist it and put an actual end goal to it, which is what we've done, is we say, forget the rotation, forget all of that. Let's just simply apply crowdfunding to it.
Yes.
Crowdfunding, the power of numbers. If there is 10 of us and we're contributing 10,000 a month, it's 100K every single month that we can collect. All of a sudden, I could not buy that block of flats, but we can buy it together.
Get access,
Absolutely. And that's really where we are with it,
Have you looked at Easy Equities has Easy Properties?
Yeah.
It's similar kind of concept, but maybe a lot
it
broader.
Went to private school, that one. That's what we say. We say, look, a majority of mutual funds anyway are stock file because you're pulling from a variety of public investors.
Do you know what I find interesting? On Easy Properties. So Easy Properties goes in and they launch and they go and buy whatever, a block of apartments or a new development or whatever it is. Now, sitting from a commercial perspective, I could go and bring them a 5-year lease with Coca-Cola or perhaps a better investment or a more stable investment, all the rest of it. But the market looking to invest and put their money in wasn't so interested in that.
Yes.
They're not interested in commercial leases because it's not tangible.
Yeah.
A block of apartments, new development's cool, like it looks good. I want to put my money into that. Guys put money in. But you say, here's a very solid, great return. Man, not so sure about that one.
But I think people worry about that. I think a lot of us worry because we don't know.
Yeah.
So it's in the unknown, right? For instance, I would worry about buying a commercial building because...
But this is the thing.
Where do I even begin looking for a tenant, right? And that's why we've got you guys to be able to start breaking down those barriers to say, look, even if you're not necessarily the one going out to find a tenant, we can potentially help you. Let's sit down and have that conversation. And that's why I liked when you started off with, the example of the 2 streets. That is what we want to hear. That's what I want to hear as a potential buyer to say, okay, we could potentially craft that because in our podcast with Guy, he speaks about, having that exit strategy. And that's quite important, right? It's obviously still coming up, guys. You will be able to get to see that one. He speaks about having an exit strategy. And I'm like, I'm just panicking because I'm like, what is my exit strategy?
No,
I mean, like,
100%.
I'm getting
this particular investor, his idea was, he's a wealthy guy. Okay. So what he does is he actually goes and creates the environment. He builds the restaurant for the property.
Yeah.
He creates a central chef. He builds a restaurant. He builds the businesses. Then he sells the businesses because they're now successful businesses.
Yeah.
And then now those people are paying him rent. Start small and build up from there.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. That's really how you do it.
Yeah.
But in our environment, I mean, that's what the guys are here to do. That's what we try and teach them. We're looking and we try and, it's not a book that you can read.
Yes.
It's experience that you gain.
Absolutely.
You know.
I like the way you answered this question. I didn't think it was going to go in this direction. I really, really enjoyed it because sometimes it's just thinking and applying your mind.
It's a concept.
Yeah.
It's like anything. You could have a bakery. It could just be a boring bakery. Or it could be a really interesting bakery that people want to go. They're desperate. They start telling their friends, you've got to go there. It's better. It's a better concept. You can go and have a coffee there and while you wait for your fresh bread to be baked. Or, these small concepts, everything is concept driven. And then ultimately now you're paying 400 Rand for a loaf of bread where you could have been paying 30 Rand. Why? Because it's a concept, but it's still bread at the end of the day. Yeah.
Before I let you go, the proof is in the pudding. Is that the saying?
Yep.
Property.
We were talking about bread, but
yeah.
pudding, yeah.
In South Africa, we have a number of big wealthy people in real estate that I don't think a lot of people know about.
Yeah.
And I'm using that to just contextualize
Yeah.
my next question to you. Is real estate in South Africa still worth it?
Is real estate in South Africa still worth it? Wow. What we based our entire business on.
Shut down the doors.
Let me think big here. I was reading a note this morning, and it's all about like the real estate sector versus the equity sector. And it really sort of switches from one to the other. At the moment, real estate in this market at the moment is not giving a great return. So it's really difficult to try and find the returns in this market. A lot of money's been taken offshore. There's not a lot of confidence in the government. There's not a lot of confidence in the municipality. There's so real estate is a very, very long-term business.
Absolutely.
Okay? And it generates extraordinary returns. And a nice idea that I like, or a concept that I like, is in real estate, you really are making your money by reducing debt, and you make more money by increasing the value of your property. Okay, so you buy this property and nothing happens besides the tenant paying its rent and you're reducing your debt. And after 10 years, because that's commercial property, after 10 years, you effectively have a building fully paid off. And that is quite a significant upside, and so from there you go and you re-gear and you go and you go and you go. So it is a geared asset. So if you were to buy it cash and just sit on it, at the moment there's not much going on. But once you gear it, then you really start getting into the game because you can do it over and over and over again. So is it worth it? Yeah, it's a great asset, especially if you can come up with concepts and improve the value of property and be clever with it. But as I say, at the moment, people are looking all over the world for return. And has real estate in South Africa been the best return over the last 24 months? No, it hasn't. It really hasn't. But, when do you want to buy it? Do you want to buy at the bottom or you want to buy at the top? And so that's where you've got to work. Where are we at the moment? Are we on the way up? I certainly think if you go and look at the REITs, at the listed sector, those have recovered nicely since where we were, not massively, not sort of back to where they were, but they've recovered nicely. So that was a good space to be in the last sort of 18 months. If you look at that REIT sector, you're going to have some uptick. At the moment, they're just sidelining. There's no growth. If there's no GDP growth,
there's obviously no growth there. Yeah, and guys, REITs are a great way if you are an income investor. I promise you, they really work. Yeah. But I'm gonna let John go. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, nice to have you.
I've got a question for you, but it's for off air. But I want to entice them. So y'all know I've got a lot of residential property. I want to get out of that market. I want to go into the commercial property, and I'm going to get some advice from John. I'll come back and tell you guys what he says. All right, thank you. Bye.